Hello and welcome to the Celtic Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Jarrod, and joining me tonight, I have Bhoy O'Reilly, who runs the Celtic Supporters Podcast. So this is one of our episodes for our Tim Talk series. We haven't done one in a while. Want to bring them back. So first of all, anyone out there wants to get involved, please send us a DM on Twitter at Celtic Down or send an email through to admin@celticdownunder.com. Other than that, welcome along, Dell. It's good to have a chat with you. We've been talking about doing this for a while, so it's good to finally have it happen.
Yes, mate. A privilege to be on, mate. We have been speaking about it for a few months, so looking forward to the chat, mate. Looking forward to it.
So, you want to give us a bit of a rundown on your podcast?
Yeah, mate.
Tell us more about it.
Kind of started it like probably most folk during the lockdown. Just as a hobby, probably the same as yourself, mate. I can talk about Celtic for morning to night. So I just started it speaking to guys for local Celtic supporters clubs and their stories about following Celtic for they were kids up to kind of now. So it's grew arms and legs a wee bit. It's still just a hobby for myself. Got a full-time job and kids and stuff like that. So it's something I could talk about all day is Celtic, and speaking to a wide range of fans and getting their stories is something that really interests me. So I'm loving it, mate, and getting to speak to guys like yourself for the other end of the world. It's amazing, meeting new friends, and I'm really enjoying it, mate.
That's good to hear. It's the fun part of a podcast. Like, I was on a previous one, the old Oz Celts podcast, and then that ended up. So I started my own one, Celtic Down Under, and yeah, it's been great. Like, just the Celtic family doesn't disappoint. Like, there's so many different people out there that are, happy to have a chat, and they've got some good stories for you. And yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, everyone's different, and that's what I love about these Tim Talk ones, because we've got the standard questions that I like to run through, but as we say, we always tend to go off on tangents and
Aye.
Dig down a little bit on a few things that you say there. So I think we'll start it off with the first usual question. How did you become a Celtic fan? Or did you not have a choice?
No choice, mate. I think when my mother found out she was pregnant, I was a Celtic fan. I've got a massive family. My mother and father have got a lot of siblings, so my full family's Celtic. So that what you said, it wasn't a choice. I was born a Celtic fan, so all my cousins, uncles, aunties, everybody in my extended family are Celtic. So no choice there, mate. It was born and bred green and white, mate.
Nothing wrong with that. Could be a lot worse if you were, a blue nose. So
Yeah, certainly, mate.
You won the lottery there, mate.
Yes.
Yeah. So just question for you. Might be a little bit odd then, because you got your family involved and everything, and this is a question without notice. How old would you have been when you went to your first game, if you've grown up around the family, and when you got your first Celtic kit? Like, do you remember getting them, or did it just happen, or what was it like being in it from birth?
I remember my first kit. It was a green away strip. I think it was 1986 possibly, and that was round about the time I went to my first game as well. My dad was heavily involved in amateur football when I was young, so my kind of younger years was following my dad about the local amateur pitches in Scotland. So my first game that I can remember was 93 in the old jungle. I think it was possibly Sheffield Wednesday in a pre-season friendly. That's my kind of earliest memories. I do remember the kind of centenary year and stuff like that, but it was early 90s before I actually started going to the games.
We'll talk about your favourite games and stuff like that later on in the podcast. But yeah, I just thought, you know what? someone who's born into it, I'm sure they can have a lot different view to some of the other guys. Like I've spoken to people, and they didn't go to a game till they were mid-teens. So yeah, if you're going in like 93, get in the jungle, mate. I wish I was privileged enough to go to a game in the jungle. I've heard so much about it over the years on these podcasts, and yeah, like don't get me wrong, the Green Brigade, what they do, it's all well and good, but apparently the jungle is a whole nother level from what I've heard.
Yeah, my memories are very, very vivid for that time. I was born in 82, so I can remember going with my dad and my uncle and cousins and stuff like that, but not very clear. Most of my memories are kind of getting into my teens and obviously
in the 90s. Same
Yeah.
year of birth as me, mate, so I know what you're talking about. For me, it was we'd watch the games in the 90s. We'd go to the Supporters Club. Someone would record all the games, mail them over, and we'd watch them a month later. You had two options. You either watch them that way, or you'd get British Football Week magazine when that come out here, and that's how you'd get your results 2 weeks after the game. But before that, it was you just had to sit there and wait till a month, and then you go in on the Saturday, watch 2 games. Go in on the Sunday, watch 2 or 3 games. Go home, and that was like a weekend every month. So that's how it was for us over here. So you're a very privileged man to have been able to go way back when you're a kid. All you guys over there, you don't know how lucky you've got it. I'm jealous.
Yeah, mate. Listen, I think the youth of the day don't know how lucky we've got it. I certainly feel privileged to have been to the Old Parkhead and be a season ticket holder with my kids just now. So yeah, mate, I certainly do know how lucky I've got it. I know there's a lot of the young team out there that are very, very spoilt nowadays with the recent success. So I feel very, very lucky and privileged to have been to the games for so long, mate.
It's not just that though, as well. For me, I look at it and go, as a supporter over here, if I want to watch the games, it's so much easier. Like I don't have to sit around and wait and watch games that are a month old and think that they're new and happening at that point in time, and not knowing what the league is. Because back then, 90s, no internet. The games in the Scottish League weren't covered in the paper out here. So now I've got the internet. I can go on Celtic TV, illegal stream CSC if I need to, go find something on there, watch a game, and go into my lounge room, smart TVs. You don't even have to use your computer. It's just perfect. Like, it's so much easier. But yeah, it's I think what we used to go through back in the day to watch the boys.
Yeah, certainly, mate. It's a changed world, isn't it? It's so easy to watch anything now. Just a quick one, mate. What's your background then for supporting Celtic all the years back?
Family, just like you.
Family as well.
I've got a bunch of family out Dundee, Aberdeen, up on the east coast in Scotland. Then the other half of my family are down Cork, Tipperary area, and in Ireland. So I had a lot of family over there. So I was pretty much born into it as well, even though I'm over here.
Good, mate. Good to hear.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll jump on to our next question. So what's your take, Dale, on the current club structure? Do you think there's any changes that are needed? Like, do we need a director of football like the talk was in the preseason? Or do you think Andrew's doing a great job as a manager and should be left alone? What are you thinking at the moment?
Mate, I'm in such a high as a Celtic fan now. Obviously the debacle last year with Mr. Howe and Lennon being sacked and losing the 10 was a tough time. And ignorantly, I never knew who Ange was before he came in. So I'm absolutely delighted where the club is at the moment. Touching on the director of football stuff, I don't think we need one, mate. I don't think as a club and the way Ange seems to be, it seems to have now total control over the football club, over the signings that are coming in. I heard the other day, obviously with the McGree signing, he was heavily involved, and speaking to him and pushing it over the line. So, no, for me, the big man is doing a fantastic job, mate. So let him go on with it. Let him keep control of the signings. it's his team. He's got a trophy in the bag already. I think we're going to push on and win the league, mate. So I don't see us needing many, if any, changes at all at the moment. I'm very, very happy where we are as a club at the moment, mate.
It's funny you say that because it's like Ange. It's from my hometown over here. I've been watching his team since '96 when he was at South Melbourne. He managed my actual local team for a year, Melbourne Victory. So I've seen him do these rebuilds at club upon club upon club. He did it at South Melbourne. He did it at Brisbane. He did it at Victory. He apparently did it in Japan. He did it with the Australian national team. Now he's doing it at my club again, at my main club, the one I've followed my whole life. It's unbelievable to see. I knew you'd know he'd have having seen him for years. Like, it was funny to see, like, people like yourself not knowing what he was like, and I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, your world's about to be blown." And to see people, and then to see people there just walking around, going like I was talking to Tony Haggerty from Axon the other day, and he was saying to me that he Andrews basically made him fall back in love with Celtic again after last year.
Yes,
And
mate.
I couldn't sum it
Yeah.
up any better. Like, that's the perfect summary.
Yes, 100%, mate. 100%. I think the full change in the club was obviously the club were massively against what was happening, not just in the park last year, but the boardroom. And I've not felt such an affinity to the club, and the closeness in the squad as well is massive. Even looking back to probably, I would go back as far as the Martin O'Neill side, how close the squad looked, and the way they were with the fans, and that's what Andrew's brought back. Obviously, you see it after the game with the players going round the park and getting into the fans and giving their tops in, and they look as if they're all together as one. They look as if they're close friends on the park as well, which is massive. And they've not seen it for a long time. So I totally agree with what Tony's saying, mate. He's certainly made me fall more in love with the club in the last 6 or 7 months as well.
What's funny with Ange, it's always like, coming from Australian sport, we've always got these few key pointers that you talk about. All the good teams in the local domestic comps, whether it's AFL or A-League or whatever, or rugby league, they have that thing called the no dickheads policy. If you're an
Yeah.
absolute idiot, there's no place for you. Get out. So that's why, as soon as Lee Griffith's situation happened in the preseason, I'm like, yeah, he'll be out the door in 2 seconds. Like, gone. Had to happen. So that sort of thing, it's good for a club culture and it builds togetherness. And then if you go back to what Brendan Rodgers said, it's the Holy Trinity. It's the club. It's like the players, the fans, the board. Last year, the issue was all three of them weren't pulling in the same direction.
No.
So it's good to see. At early in the season, I thought it was just okay. The fans and the players were together, but I'll give credit where it's due. Michael Nicholson, he's been a breath of fresh air. We haven't heard boo from him. He's just got on and done the job, and I will give credit where it is due. I bag out the board something chronic on this podcast if they have to do it, but at the same time, the board look like they're pulling their weight now as well. So that's good to see.
It is, mate. It is. And as you say, you would rather not hear from them. So, Mr. Nicholson, he's done a great job. Obviously, we've signed 5 players in the last week. We're only 2 weeks into January, which is absolutely unheard of for Celtic Football Club, especially in the summer. But it's been a fantastic January window. I'm expecting another 1 or 2 in, hopefully a good half a dozen out as well, mate. But the club as a whole seems to be, as you say, we're in sync at the moment, mate, and everybody's singing off the same hymn sheet. So long may it continue.
Oh, you could have made a perfect, dad joke there. You said we're in sync. You could have made a boy band joke and it would have been even funnier.
Missed that one, mate. Missed that.
Shocking. Threw to the keeper. We'll let it happen. All right. So you were talking about a couple more in. So how do you talk about recruitment and where we're at the moment? So how do you think our recruitment has been over the last 12 to 18 months? Let's talk about Lenny's last season, first of all, into this season so far, which is where the 18 months come from. And then which current players at the club do you think will be moving on in the next, whether this window or end of the season?
I think going back to Lenny, I don't know who was signing off guys like Barkas and Ajeti and John Joe Kenny and guys like that coming in who just never worked.
Here's a heated driveway.
I know. Obviously, big Duffy as well. Never worked too well, but I think when you look at Duffy's signing and the passing his father and the lockdown and living in a hotel in Scotland, I think the big man got a bit of a rough ride for the Celtic fans, albeit his performances weren't up to much. But when you look at what was actually going on in his life, then he's proven it in the Premiership what a good player he is, and at Ireland as well. So the Barkas and Ajeti one certainly not worked out, but Kyogo coming in. Obviously, we've not seen the three new Japanese signings, so hopefully get to see them on Monday back at Paradise. I don't know what the scouting system was under Lennon. I think that's something Celtic have been lacking. Probably going back to John Park, who was probably the best scout we had, and bringing through youth and that. But guys like Laxalt and Ajeti and Barkas and that coming in it's a lot of money spent, big transfer fees, and they've just not cut the mustard. But
the funny thing with that, we'll just jump in quickly. The funny thing with those guys that you just mentioned was they came in from a higher standard, apparently, inverted commas, but the thing is, he comes in, say, Ajeti, when he come in, he did well early on. 5 goals in his first 6 games. Then nothing. And then you look at Duffy. He scored in back-to-back games when he started, and then he slowly got worse. You look at Barkas. He's got cabbages for hands. That's a joke we've got on our podcast. Couldn't catch a cold in a snowstorm, but like he's the sort where, he was. I actually think he was okay in his first few games, and then he just got real bad real quick once he made his first mistake, head dropped all over. And then you look at guys like Laxalt. He was on fire for his first 3 or 4 games. By the end of the season, he'd come down a level. John Joe Kenny just didn't have any levels to go up. He was just rubbish the whole way through. But you look at those first few that I rattled off there, they're all at a higher level of performance, and then they just dropped off. So I think they came down to the standard that was in the squad last season. Because you can, as you said, look at Duffy this season up and about playing. Laxalt's doing well in Russia from what I've seen. So, yeah, that's where I think the other two that Ajeti and Barkas, they're still with us and they're doing nothing. So hopefully we can get some money back for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they need to go. And touching on the ins and outs, I think we maybe need to look at maybe putting young Montgomery out in loan. I think Welsh needs to stay. I think he's had a bit of a rough ride with Starfelt for me, who's not set the heather on fire. I'm a massive fan of Stephen Welsh. His aerial ability, his passion. Obviously, he's a Celtic boy and he's come through the academy, and we want to see him do well. So, I think looking at the squad now, for top to bottom, first team players, it's unbelievable that the amount of players we've got. So I think we need to be looking at shifting at least half a dozen, mate. Ajeti, Barkas, people maybe disagree with this one, but James McCarthy as well. If a championship club in England or something came in, I would happily see him out the door. Very, very disappointed that it's not worked out for the boy. I'm a massive Everton fan as well, from Scouse family, so I had high hopes for him coming in, but it's not worked out, mate. It's not an Ange signing either. certainly not an non-signing. But
Yeah.
I'm very happy with the way the squad looks, mate. But we need to be shifting some guys out pronto, and Ajeti and Barkas, and that'll be on big wages. So it's looking to the summer as well, mate. If we can get rid of these guys, then obviously Angie's pot will grow for the summer window coming in, and hopefully can straight into the Champions League group.
Yeah, agree with you 100%. For me, I thought the thing we needed to do going into this window is we needed to strengthen so that we had 2 players for every position.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty much there. There's only, with Julian coming back, I think we're okay at centre back now, as long as we don't sell Welsh. If we sell Welsh, like a bunch of idiots, we need another centre back.
Yeah.
So that position's fine. The only 2 positions for me is if Joe Hart gets hurt or sick or whatever in this current environment, our backups goalkeeper are pretty rubbish. Like, you're either going to have to play Barkas, but we got to sell him, move him on. And Bain, never been a massive fan of Bain. So for me, do we give Connor Hazard the number 2 role there as a backup, or do we bring the young kid up from the Colts who's been doing really well and make him the backup, or do we look to get someone else in? Who knows? So I think the goalkeeper position is potential issue in terms of if Joe Hart was to get hurt or get sick with COVID at the moment, the way the environment is, we're weak there. The other position that we still need to strengthen, in my opinion, however, this may be offset if we're going to play Jota out right and put Maeda out left instead of playing him as a striker. If Maeda's a striker, then we need a right winger. If Maeda's going to play on the left, we can put Jota out right, then we're okay. So they're the only 2 positions for me, the right wing and goalkeeper, that I reckon we probably could strengthen further. But then, as you said, we've got to move on guys like Bolingoli's got to go. Monty should go on loan. Mikey Johnson should go out on loan.
Yeah.
I'd love to see, what's the young centre-back who played against Mitchell?
Dane Murray.
Dane Murray, put him on loan in the top flight as well. Put Uragiri out on loan. If you get those guys out on loan in the Scottish top flight, they can help strengthen our positions. They're not going to play against us, but they can help take points off other teams. So that would help us on that regard, and it would help their development in the league that they're playing, because if you go and play at Aberdeen on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, and you can see how cold it is, and you know that, it's going to help you for when you're back at Celtic. Going and playing down at Scunthorpe or going and playing down at Tranmere or whatever, that's not going to help you with that situation, is it?
Yeah, I think possibly the only one that would kind of disagree was obviously McGregor went down south and look how he's turned it. But you look at when we signed Ryan Christie, the wee skinny guy that there's
the Aberdeen diet.
Yeah, mate, and
eat, sleep, and breathe steaks and football.
And he came back. He got the chance against Hearts at Murrayfield, scored that goal and kicked on. So I would like to see the young guys get out in loan in Scotland. The only thing that kind of holds me back on that is obviously the games that they can't play against us. Possibly somebody then comes in and has a good game, and then they're sat on a bench for a few games. That's the only way I'm kind of against it. I don't know if these guys are good enough to go to a championship down south, but listen, League One down in England is a possibility for these young boys to go and show what they can do. But there's certainly a lot of boys there that would 100% benefit playing week in, week out, and hopefully it benefits the club when they come back with the likes of Calmack and Christie are very good examples in that.
Yeah, and even Chris Ire, his half season at Kilmarnock as well. Like that was another one there that was a good move for us. So yeah, I think other than those guys on loan, I'm looking at the only 3 that should probably go out permanently at the moment, unless an offer comes in for McCarthy, as you've said. Yeti needs to go, Bolingoli needs to go, and Barkas needs to go. So that's 13.5 million worth of transfer fees in on those 3 players that we spent, that now we need to try and recoup something and get them off the wage bill. So then it frees it up for Ange come January. Not January, come June, July next year.
Yeah,
so Yeah, it'll be interesting, but yeah, we'll talk about this more as well because we'll talk about this more a bit later on when we record our actual live weekly podcast. This is going to come out on Sunday. So what's the date on Sunday? The 19th? No, not the 19th. I don't even know what the date is. But
I'd near the army, actually.
the 16th. So this will come out on the 16th, this episode, but we're recording it on the 12th so everyone knows. So we're going to have our regular podcast. Dale's going to be on for that as well. But what we'll do now, Dale, we'll change a bit. So we'll go into your time supporting Celtic. So I've got a few little questions to finish off on the on podcast. So who would be your all-time favourite Celtic player other than Henrik Clarson and why?
Mate, even though you sent me these questions, it's a hard one. I was a defender growing up, so I kind of always liked my full-back, centre-halves, kind of defensive midfielders. Martin O'Neill's side's always kind of my go-to team. Martin O'Neill's era and the first couple of years under Brendan's probably been my favourite time as a Celtic fan. But without Larson,
I thought when you started talking about defenders, I was thinking he's gonna start chanting "Bobo's gonna kill you."
That's the player. That's the player that's on the tip of my tongue, mate. If I was going to name just one, I would probably go with Jackie Mack. I think.
Nice.
It's a hard question to name one, but
you feel like you're cheating on the rest of all these players who brought you so much love over the years.
Aye, so I loved Big Bobo, Mialbi, Jackie Mack, and Paul Lambert's one of my favourite all-time players. But I think just Jackie, I was a fullback, so when I was growing up watching Celtic, Jackie was kind of one of the first players I really, really loved and watched very closely because I played in the same position as him. So without the king, I'll say Jackie Mack, mate. I'll go with Jackie Mack.
Well, speaking of Jackie Mack, it was funny. If you go back to the start of the season when we're talking about director of football coming in, I was like, if I was going to bring someone in, the talk was I put Kennedy up there or Sean Maloney comes in or whatever. I was like, no. For me, it was put Jackie Mack in that chair. Now he doesn't have to manage. His football knowledge and everything would have been great. That's what I would have liked. And then Ange comes into the club and I'm like, yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, that was what I thought. So I rate him very highly as well. So since you struggled to get Jackie Mack just then as your favourite player other than Larson, now we'll spread it out a bit. Who'd be your top 5 players that you've seen play for Celtic in your lifetime? I normally say make it a 5-a-side, so, a defender, a striker, a couple of midfielders and a goalkeeper. Or just throw any 5 out there that you want.
Henrik's obviously the best player I've seen, probably. Probably the most skillful and gifted player I've seen in my time and been very lucky to see week in, week out is Lubomir Moravcik by a distance, probably. You're asking some tough ones here. I really liked McGeady. McGeady excited me, bursting into the team. I think he made his debut at Tynecastle. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember. I think he was 17. He made his debut at Tynecastle.
I believe so, but I can't remember.
He really, really excited me, McGeady, watching him. I loved watching him growing up as well. And I like my wingers that attack. So Jota coming in has been a breath of fresh air. Probably the most attacking winger we've had. Can back to Aiden. When you think about it, we've not really had a player like that for a long time.
I'd have 3 attacking wingers that I can think off the top of my head that I would agree with you. It would have gone Aiden, and the next most attacking in the timeline, not in terms of it, would have been Paddy Roberts was very attacking. And then not the same level, but He was smart the way he'd always take guys on, and then you've got Jota. For me, those three would probably be our three most, and it would go Jota, Aiden, and then a massive drop off to Paddy, and then a massive drop off to whoever's in fourth.
Yeah, you could probably throw Diddy Agat in the conversation. He's more of a wing back, obviously, but Agat was phenomenal as well. But I'm struggling defender wise.
Then just play handball. Don't put any defenders in there. Just go all out attack.
I know. I think obviously Virgil Van Dijk has to be in the conversation at all times. A raw 21-year-old coming in, and I said, if you know anything about football, you knew right away that guy wasn't going to be at Celtic Park very long. So I think he needs to be in the conversation. But my loyalty lies with guys that were there a long time. So Big Bobo's going to be in there with Lubomir Moravchik, Henrik Larsson, Paul Lambert. I don't need to have a goalkeeper in, surely, do I?
Nah. You've got enough guys there. You got Bobo or Virgil or whoever you're putting in the defence. Like, you don't need a goalkeeper.
Aye, so Bobo, Lambert, Lubomir Moravchik, Henrik Larsson. And I'll go with KT. I'll go with Kieran Tierney just because he's from where I'm from. I'm the founding member of the Kieran Tierney Celtic Supporters Club as well. So I need to chuck the wee man in the 5 as well, mate.
Fair enough. Nice lineup. Love that we've had a few on there that we haven't had on here before. Like, I don't think Lambert's been in there or whatever. So that's good. Now here comes what we talked about this earlier. What are some of the most memorable games that you've seen Celtic play in your lifetime, and what's the most memorable thing about those games to you?
I've spoken about this before. I think my most memorable games, even though I've been going to watch Celtic for the kind of early 90s, my most memorable games have been quite recent, to be honest with you, mate. Like, I've started taking my sons to the football, so that's it means a lot more to me now because I'm taking the boys there. But the game that sticks out massively that always has was beating the Newco 5-0 to win the league. The full day was memorable, mate. It was up at 9 o'clock in the morning. We just started the Kieran Tierney Celtic Supporters Club the night before. We had a charity race night to raise some funds for the club. And it was, we're playing Rangers tomorrow, make sure a couple of pints up the road and be fresh, which never happened. So it was a late night. It was up early in the morning, cracking a tinny open at 9 o'clock on the supporters bus. And I was there with my sister and my brother-in-law and all my friends. So to beat them at Paradise 5-0, going on 10, we should have battered them by at least 7 or 8 that day easily. That's the one that sticks out massively for me, mate, just because of the family thing, the bus just starting up, and that full day, mate, from start to finish was just a fantastic weekend, mate, for the Friday right through to the Monday.
That's all we like. That's why I asked that question, because I love hearing these more personal answers like that, like the stock standard, the 5-1 game, or where Rogic scored for the invincible treble. That's great. Like, for me, the Rogic invincible treble goal was probably my favourite one that I've been at over here at the CSC. But I love hearing these stories from people like yourself on here, because it's just that's the sort of thing I don't get, that connection with the club in terms of the family and that, because I'm so far removed on the other side of the world. But yeah, it's just great to hear that, though.
It's fantastic, mate. Getting back to when I was younger, I think going with the boys and all that, and getting a beer and going to the supporters club and going to the bowling club and the Oak and the Turnstiles and all the pubs round about and leaving at half time, and it was great times in the teens, and starting the bus and that was fantastic, mate. But I think I certainly appreciate the game and the club a lot more now. Driving in with a clear head and watching the game with the kids, and most recent times, mate, it's been thoroughly enjoyable, mate, especially taking the kids.
That's good to hear. So last question for you. Other than Messi and Ronaldo, who would be the one player that you've seen play against Celtic in your lifetime and wish that we could sign them? Money and wages is irrelevant right now for this question. It's just pie in the sky. You're doing some Sevconomics in terms of, how much you can pay, EBT, works, whatever. What is the one player?
Easy, mate, for me. Ronaldinho. Easy. I don't even need to think about it. He's always been my favourite player. Even if the question's asked with Messi and Ronaldo involved in it, Ronaldinho, all day, every day of the week, mate. I think the guy's an absolute footballing genius. What he done with a football at his feet was phenomenal. The goals he scored. I just actually watched a clip the other night. The kind of toe poke goal he scored against Chelsea in the semi-final of the Champions League. Ronaldinho, mate, all day.
And then you would have found him at the pubs just past the stadium just after the games as well. Perfect. Happy days.
Good chance, yeah, mate.
Ripping it up. Brilliant. So, I always find that a good question, because for me, it's like that. My answer, anytime I'm on these pods and ask the question, it changes. There's like 3 or 4 players and it just rotates for me. So today, my answer is Juan Roman Riquelme.
Mate. What a player. Brilliant. What a player, mate.
Yeah, I was up. It was one for me. I just loved watching him play as well. But yeah, Ronaldinho, class act. Are you sure we would have been able to buy him though? Because, we would have been bidding against St Mirren.
That's right, aye.
He was keen to Scotland, so there you go. Happy days. So Dal, I'll just get you to plug your podcast. Where can we find your podcast? On YouTube, on Twitter, all that sort of stuff? Just give it all a bit of a shout out, share your socials around, and tell us about what you've got coming up on the channel.
So my YouTube's just the Celtic Supporters Podcast. I'm Bhoy O'Reilly on Facebook with an H. My Twitter handle's at Celtic Podcast 67. So, as I said earlier, mate, it was just an interview fans for all walks of life, telling their Celtic story. That's kind of what I'm trying to push this year is my Celtic story on the podcast. Getting guys on to speak about what we spoke about earlier, their first games and growing up and their journey supporting the Hoops. I've been speaking to ex-Celtic player Alan Thompson in the last few days. I've got him coming on the podcast soon. I've been in touch with his author, Jamie Boyle. You'll obviously know the book's just been released, A Geordie Boy. So I'm just trying to tap into a bigger pond, mate, and get some bigger names on. As I say, it's just a hobby for me, and I'm the same as you, mate. I could speak about Celtic all day, every day. So, if any fans that do watch this, give me a DM on Twitter at Celtic Podcast 67. I would love to get you on for a chat and tell me your story. I'm the same as you, mate. I love hearing from guys and girls for different walks of life. I've had a guy on for America. I've had Mary Claire on for Ireland as well. I'm talking to yourself now in Australia, mate. So it's all about tapping into the contacts, mate, and just messaging folk, mate, and annoying people, and eventually they'll fucking speak to you. So I'm certainly no shy, mate. So I've got a few big names in the pipeline, so fingers crossed. Give my channel a like and subscribe and hit the notifications, and hopefully see some big names, mate, in the coming months in 2022.
Yeah, it sounds good. I'm looking forward to it, and who knows, I might jump on for an episode one day too. There you go.
100%, mate.
We'll
100%.
return the favour. You'll come on
That'll
my
be
show, I'll jump on yours. Perfect. Happy days. So, everyone, thanks for listening in. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Thanks, Del, for having a chat with us. While we're at it, make sure you subscribe to Del's podcast channel, our one on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Celtic Down. You can find us on all of them. Other than that, hail, and I'm on the hoops.
Legend, mate. Thank you very much.